Hello everyone and welcome back to the Clutchn IT channel. Today we're going to react to Elon Musk charmingly defeated a room full of oil giants. So this was really requested on my channel for me to check out, and we'll see what Elon Musk has to say about oil and fuel and a lot of other things. Let's take a look at it and let's get into it.
If there was a button I could press to stop all hydrocarbon usage today, I would not press it.
You would not press it?
Of course not.
Okay. Did you expect him to say that? What kind of a threat do you think you are to the oil and gas industry?
Well, I don't think we're much of a threat. I mean, yet. Yet. I mean, the more obvious threat is that we're going to run out of hydrocarbons to mine and burn. That's rather obvious. I mean, it's not.
To comment on that, would we really run out of carbons to burn? From what I've heard and what I've read, we've only used like 8% of the entire world's carbons. I'd like to know a bit more about that, and I'll probably do some research on my own to see that. So far, Elon Musk has been pretty charismatic, a very charming person when he's talking to this lady in this interview. Let's go back into it.
It's no time soon, judging from the comments we've had this morning.
So it's getting harder and harder to find hydrocarbons, and it's getting much more expensive to extract them. And really, we're just arguing about the when hydrocarbons run out or become prohibitively expensive, not if. I mean, I don't think there's anyone here who would say it's an if, not a when.
I mean, you are, a tech guy, right? You're a physicist and an engineer. You call
Interesting.
yourself chief architect of
I tend to view things from
You don't
sort of
think
a
that
physics
human
standpoint.
ingenuity and technology and resourcefulness will mean that we will still have abundant fossil fuels
No, of course
available?
not.
I mean, this has been going on for some time. They think you've reached the boundaries, and yet they find more. And look at the whole shale gas revolution.
There are time extensions on the game, but the game is going to come to an end. That should be absolutely certain, obviously, frankly. But I don't have any fundamental dislike of hydrocarbons. I simply look at the future and say, what is the thing that will actually work? And using a non-renewable resource,
That's pretty interesting.
Obviously, will not work. So we must find an alternative. But if there was a button I could press to stop all hydrocarbon usage today, I would not press it.
You would not press it?
Of course not.
You would not press it
would cause
because
human civilization to come to a halt.
every hospital would have to
That would
close
be
down.
ridiculous. So it would be
I
irresponsible
agree to
press
that.
button. But what does need to happen is to, if we can, accelerate the transition towards renewables. That's the sensible thing to do. If you take, I'm going to use maybe two examples. Saudi Arabia, since the Saudi Aramco president spoke here. Saudi Arabia has an enormous amount of sunlight, and that will be there for billions of years, or at least 1 billion years until the sun eventually engulfs us, but a billion years, solid. So it seems that investing in the solar resource is the thing that's really going to preserve the long-term future, not so much the oil and gas. I mean, that's a temporary.
So to comment a little bit on solar, there's a lot of things that people don't understand about solar. One of them is that in order to store the energy from solar, you have to put it in batteries. And batteries tend to only last so long when they're under a charge. Some batteries last a year, 2 years, 5 years, 7 years. But realistically, I've never seen batteries really last much more than 7 to 8 years. So you really have to consider the fact that at roughly 5 to 7 years, you're going to have to change the batteries consistently on these solar panels. That being said, too, just like anything else in the world, they do degrade over time. So this begs a lot of questions, would solar be better than burning carbons? Hard to say. Takes carbons to make the solar panels, to make the wiring, to make to mine the copper for the wiring, to build the solar controller unit. It takes copper. That all takes carbons to even get there to start with. And then to maintain it, you have to maintain these solar systems. You have to maintain this stuff all the time. So it really kind of begs the question of, is it better or is it not? I'd like to see it performed on a large scale where you could, say, provide an entire city using just solar and really see how scalable it really is. You know, the few places where I was working on solar panels, solar controllers, and batteries and whatnot, you could get away with powering a small trailer on 4 batteries and two 300-watt solar panels. I really doubt you could power an entire city off of it. I mean, even if you could, that being said, you're talking about acres and acres and acres and acres of solar panels and batteries, and you would have to maintain this for an incredibly long time. The amount of money that it would cost would be crazy. Think people would complain about paying for gas prices. Imagine your electric bill going to like $1,200 a month just to cover expenses of replacing solar panels, batteries, and wires and stuff. I don't know. This is a very hot topic. I'm very curious about it. I'd like to see it done. I don't know of any cities that are completely powered off of just solar alone. You know, a lot of them, they do, you know, joint powering. They joint, whether it be hydropower from a river or, you know, solar or wind power from, you know, a windmill. I'm curious to see kind of what they have planned for the future on that stuff.
Temporary thing. In the future, we'll look back, and by future, I'm not talking about super far in the future, I'm talking about towards the end of the century. We will look back on gasoline-powered cars the same way we look back on coal, as sort of a quaint anachronism that's in a museum.
I
That's
don't know
the
if I
quote
could
for
agree
you,
with
members
that.
of the press at the back of the hall.
So, to talk a little bit about this video's pretty much just a clip, it seems like, of an interview that he might have had with some oil giant. I kind of agree with some of what he has to say, and I kind of don't. You know, I elaborated already how I feel about solar and how I would feel about converting completely to solar for a city. Could it be done? Sure. Want to know the costs of that? That's a whole nother story. You know what I mean? It's one thing to operate a copper mine or a coal mine. It's another thing to maintain and pay for an entire city's worth of solar panels, controllers, batteries, wires, etc. On down the line. And scaling it is incredibly hard. I'd like to see it done at a mass scale. That being said, we out.